Hey, I'm Jake Meeks with the Tattoo Improvement Network, and I wanted to share with you a simple tool that we created here at Tattoo Improvement to help you to push contrast and use a full value range in your tattoo work. The reason that's important is that we work with a limited value range in tattooing from the start. Unfortunately, the darkest darks and the lightest lights just are not available to us. We can't get a true black and we can't get a true white. So to make up for that, we have to do two things. We have to limit the number of values that we're using. I say to 3 or 4. And we also have to push contrast harder than we think we should in order for our tattoos to hold up well over time. It's a very common mistake that we see with young and inexperienced tattoo artists that they'll use similar grays, similar valued colors throughout their entire tattoos. It's common because strong contrast tends to reveal drawing inconsistencies or drawing weaknesses. People feel like they're safer kind of using mid-range, mid-tones. The problem with that is that you end up with a less than dynamic tattoo, and you end up with a tattoo that does not hold up well or read well over time. So with that said, check out this quick video that I made. Hope you like it.
All right, guys, we're going to start out here in Photoshop. You will need Photoshop in order to use this tool. Let me get rid of that thing. Okay, here's the image that I selected to use as an example, and I picked it for a couple of reasons. One, the drawing and composition are not bad. They were done by Alphonse Mucha, and he was a pretty good picture drawer, if you remember him. And the most important reason is that it has very little value contrast. We have some color contrast. We do not have a lot of value contrast, which kind of makes the entire image flatten out a little bit. You can't discern foreground from middle ground from background. To illustrate that a little further, let me show you a grayscale version of this. Take the color out of the equation, and there you go. We have a lot of the same gray throughout that tattoo. A few darker grays in the foreground, maybe a couple up here at the top, but not enough. Obviously was not thought out very well from a value standpoint. Let me give you a little better idea of what I'm talking about. Let's say that we were going to use just 3 values in this composition. Let's say we were going to make our foreground, meaning this vegetation here and these rocks, they're going to be our darkest element. Our midground will be our lightest, and our background will be our medium. So we're going to have a dark, medium, and a light. And you obviously don't have to put them in that order, but you could go dark, medium, light, or light, medium, dark, or however you decide to do it. But as long as you're thinking of it throughout the design of the composition. So let's go ahead and drop in, let's say, an 80% gray in the foreground and see what it does. Pow! Look at that. It's so much darker, and obviously we're just using simple shapes here to illustrate a point. That jumps forward immediately. Let's go ahead and add about a 50% gray in that background and see what it does to the figure. There you go. There's a 50% gray, and look at how that figure just kind of jumps forward immediately, as well as the tree branch and the leaves. So now you have a composition that you can read. It looks like this figure is sitting in space. The tattoo will hold up better in the long term. You could read it from across the room now. You may not know exactly what it is, but you would look at this from across the room and say, oh, I can identify those shapes. There's something worth looking at over there. I'm going to go check it out. Think about how many tattoos you've seen that have similar grays or darks all the way through, and you can't discern any element from another element. Thinking in very simple terms like this, light, medium, dark, helps to solve that problem and breaks it down into manageable little bites that you can tackle even if you aren't incredibly experienced as an artist or as a tattooer. So like I said, this will hold up much better over time. That's the biggest thing with tattoos. Let me take you over to the value frame, and I'll show you what I've done here. You may remember in the intro I talked about tattooers kind of fighting an uphill battle due to the fact that we can't achieve a true black or a true white. We're limited by the skin. So I have left black and white out of this value scale. I have a 4-step value scale starting with an 80% gray and going down to about a 10% gray. And it's set up in layers. So you have a transparent layer underneath and you have your value scale on top. And what you will do is open your image, whether it be a tattoo or a drawing, and drop it in between the two. You're going to sandwich your image in the middle, just like so. Yep, he's moved up a little far. Let me drop that down. And just like we suspected, we have a whole lot of this gray right here. very little of any other gray, just a lot of the same. And sometimes color is a distraction, and you drop it into grayscale and put it against a value frame like this, or any kind of a value scale tool. It doesn't have to be this specific one, and you'll learn pretty quickly where some of your weaknesses are. We obviously could have pushed this contrast in this design a lot further. I'm going to back up for 1 second, and if you're not super experienced in this, or if this idea is fairly new to you, I'm going to offer a couple of pieces of advice. First, in your designs, use a single light source. Don't try to get fancy with warm and cool lights or backlit objects. Pick a light source. Make every single form in your composition relate to that light source. Think about how the light would describe that form and draw it that way. Secondly, limit your values to 3 or 4 at the most. You can get fancy the more that you learn, but I find that the more simple, the better. And I've been tattooing a long time, and I still try to limit mine to 3 or 4 values. I just think it's cleaner. I think it reads better. You may have subtle shifts within each value range, meaning if your foreground is your lightest light and your background is your darkest dark, you may have some value, obviously, changes in the foreground, but your darkest element in your foreground should never be darker than your lightest element in your background, if that makes any sense. You should always try to keep those things separate as best as you can. And that's just a good kind of rule of thumb, especially when you're just starting out. Let me pull this corrected version over here, just a grayscale version of what we just did, and look at that. So now we're getting somewhere. You've got all of the values pretty well represented there. You have your darkest dark. You actually are a little darker than the darkest gray that I have here on the value scale, which is great. That's probably because I did it digitally. A heel tattoo is not likely going to read quite that dark, but it gives you an idea. And you can tell it almost immediately as soon as you drop this in. So go ahead, pull your old tattoos, scan them, or pull them over from Instagram, whatever, and drop them onto this value scale. And that'll give you an idea of where you could have made better decisions in the past. But more importantly, take your drawings. Start doing some value studies, if you're not already, of your drawings when you're preparing for your tattoos. Drop your drawings in here in grayscale and see how they measure up. And that way you can make corrections before you do anything permanent to anyone. And you can make mistakes or whatever, and make corrections of those mistakes and make better tattoos as a result. I hope this helps. You can download this value scale in the description below this video. There should be a link. If there's not a link, then I screwed something up, which wouldn't be a surprise. Make sure to subscribe at tattooimprovement.com. Keep up with what we're doing. Leave me a comment if you care to. Thank you. That's it.